What's up, y'all? My name is JR, and for those of you who don't already know, I'm a huge movie and TV nerd. If you're new here, I appreciate you taking the time to check out my channel. I hope you'll consider sticking around and joining the film community I'm trying to build here on YouTube. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving my reaction and review of Sony's newest superhero film, Madam Web. And just so you guys know, this video will contain some mild spoilers, so if you haven't seen this movie yet and you don't want to know anything that happens in it, you might want to exit this video now. And with that being said, no more wasting time, let's get into it. Madam Web is an American superhero film based on Marvel Comics featuring the character of the same name. Produced by Columbia Pictures and D. Bonaventura Pictures in association with Marvel Entertainment and TSG Entertainment, and distributed by Sony Pictures Releasing, it is the fourth film in Sony's Spider-Man universe, or the SSU. The film was directed by S.J. Clarkson from a screenplay she co-wrote with Claire Parker and the writing team of Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless. It stars Dakota Johnson in the title role, alongside Sydney Sweeney, Celeste O'Connor, Isabella Merced, Tahar Rahim, Mike Epps, Emma Roberts, and Adam Scott. In the film, Cassie Webb, played by Johnson, confronts her past while trying to save three young women and their futures from Ezekiel Sims. Now, Sony began development on Madam Web for its shared universe on September of 2019, with Sazama and Sharpless hired to write the script. Now, Clarkson joined as director in May of 2020, making the film her feature film directorial debut, while Johnson was cast in early 2022. This was followed by additional castings in the following months, particularly for the three Spider-Women characters. Madam Web is a suspense thriller that depicts the titular character's origin story in a standalone universe with an approach that is said to be more grounded and gritty compared to many previously released superhero films, which I can kind of agree that's what this was. Filming began in mid-July of 2022, and it wrapped before the end of the year, occurring throughout Massachusetts, including Boston, and in New York City. Clarkson and Parker's involvement as writers was revealed in November of 2023. Madam Web then premiered at the Regency Village Theater in Westwood, Los Angeles on February 12, 2024, and was released in the United States on February 14th. And as we all know by now, the film has been widely panned by critics. Now, at the time of the making of this video, the movie has a rather unbelievable 14% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's based on 155 critic reviews, which is kind of difficult to believe. Now, it has a much higher but still meager audience score of 54%, based on over 250 verified ratings. It has an equally pitiful Metascore of only 27 on Metacritic, and that's based on 50 critic reviews, with an even lower user score of just 2.2, and that's based on 106 user ratings. And finally, it has a 3.8 out of 10 on IMDb, and that's based on just over 7,000 reviews. So, as you guys know, people are absolutely dragging this film online. And I have to say, the word about this film has been so bad that I almost didn't go see it. I almost decided not to cover it. But I ultimately decided to go ahead anyway because I thought to myself, there's no way in the world this could possibly be as bad as people saying. But after going to the theater and checking this out for myself, I have to agree with the general consensus that this film is a bit of a mess. The first noticeable thing here is that the entirety of the film takes place in the past, even though there is a time jump in this story. And, at first, it's kind of confusing as to exactly why that is. But after the first 20 minutes or so of the film, you realize that this movie is actually a spinoff as it pertains to the Sony Spider-Man films. And the filmmakers are trying really, really hard to link this film directly to the latest iteration of Peter Parker, also known as Spider-Man. Now, as for the casting of this film, I have to say I wasn't really impressed. DEI strikes again as far as the Spider Women are concerned because each of them is a different race, which stuck out like a sore thumb, but that wasn't the only thing that did. I didn't like Mike Epps in his role, primarily because I just didn't think he was all that good in this movie. But I have to say, I blame the casting directors for that because this role isn't one that you go out and get Mike Epps for, because it isn't what he does. Now, I'm not trying to be a hater, as Mike Epps is actually an integral part of my movie watching adolescent experience. Next Friday, Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins are two of my favorite films, and I see them as classics. And Mike Epps' performance in those films were absolutely memorable. But here, in this role, in this film, I just think they could have gotten even a lesser known actor who would have been better for the role and would have cost them less money. And especially since Mike Epps is only in the film for about 5 minutes. I think like 2 or 3 scenes, So this casting just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Now, Dakota Johnson came off as really unlikable in her role. And, at this point, I think that this is being done on purpose, right? It's starting to feel like female writers and female filmmakers are doing this to their female leads almost just to irritate, the male part of their audience, to make these characters so irritable and so irritating, rather, and so unlikable that, about halfway through the film, you just find yourself going, this person just really is getting on my nerves. And, I don't know. The character here got on my nerves pretty early on in this story. And, while we're talking about the story, this one really didn't do it for me. I mean, I understand that this film had a really modest budget, certainly in comparison to the MCU superhero films, but there was way too much skipping around happening as the story tried to move from beat to beat. And it felt extremely disorienting, and there wasn't a whole lot of action in this film either, like almost none. The movie played more like a drama based on a superhero rather than an actual superhero movie. And I want to take a moment to say this too. It felt like I was watching a network television show that just had a runtime of a movie. And again, it just really didn't do this film any favors. I would also be remiss if I didn't talk about how clunky and clumsy the dialogue was for a lot of this film. The writing, I try not to go super hard on writers, being a writer myself. And I always tell people it's, to write an entire screenplay and to have it all really go off without a hitch can be difficult at times. It's like you're writing 100-page, thing and trying not to make a single mistake. But the writing was not good in this film, guys. I have to just call it like I see it. But I mean, I guess that's what you get when you hire the writers from Morbius to write your script. For those of you who don't know, Morbius is one of the floppiest superhero movies in recent memory. And the result was that it only made $167.5 million off of an $80 million budget. And I do believe that it currently has a 15% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. But Hollywood doesn't want to let new people into their closed shop. So I guess this is just what it's going to be, for the foreseeable. Now, having said that, I do want to take a moment to cape up for this movie in this one regard. A lot of people online have been making a lot about the editing of this film, saying that the editing was bad. It was not. Now, I will admit the editing was a bit unorthodox, but stating that it was bad suggests that the editors didn't know what they were doing. And that's not true. The editors of this film knew exactly what they were doing. The filmmakers were clearly trying to bring us, the audience, into the point of view of the main character as she was experiencing the feeling of confusion and, as the story progressed, struggling with bouts of deja vu. And though, people certainly have the right to state that they didn't like the editing, from a technical standpoint, there was nothing wrong with the editing of this film. Now, there were plenty of other things that make this film the convoluted mess that it was. And overall, I'd give this film a 45% or a 4.5 if you're thinking IMDb score. And I do believe that makes this the lowest rated film or TV show that I have since I started this channel. Outside of the uninspiring cast, the clumsy writing, the disjointed nature of the story, some subpar acting here and there, this film was already at a disadvantage, being about a minor character that I myself had forgotten even existed in the Spider-Man comics and in the Marvel Universe as a whole. And when you add that to the fact that this film did not have the backing of the actual MCU or the budget that comes along with a movie included in that space, I wonder if this movie was a good idea for filmmakers to make at all. And then when you look at the fact that every word about this film has been bad from the moment of its conception, it makes you wonder even further if this film would have been better off left on a shelf somewhere instead of playing to empty theaters across the country. But what do you guys think? Have you seen Madam Web yet? If you have, do you think the movie was a satisfactory superhero film? Or do you think Sony should have cut their losses and just put their eggs in the Kraven the Hunter and Venom 3 basket? Let me know in the comments. And for those of you who might be new to the channel, be sure to like and share this video. If you really like the content, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I drop a new video. Also, be sure to go check out themadscreenwriter.com for more television and film reviews and info on my upcoming film projects. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I got screenplays to write. I'll catch y'all on the next video.